Hello and welcome to our first roundtable of this year. My name is Dan Bühne. I'm the Managing Director of IREB, and it's a pleasure to guide you through this today's session, streaming live on LinkedIn and on YouTube. So a warm welcome to all the participants and of course also to our panelists. Today's focus for this roundtable is on how we can ensure that digital systems do not only function, but also create a kind of value for the society. And especially in the area where we live in today, where technology shapes nearly every part of our lives, where we use technology each and everywhere, it's not longer enough, in my perception, to build efficient systems. We have to build systems that are somehow responsible also for ourselves and for our lives. So that's why we have set up this roundtable and this discussion panel for today with three outstanding experts in this area, and just bringing different perspectives on this topic, on value, on ethics, and also on ecosystems. And I'm super curious for this discussion. I had the opportunity to discuss for sure with the participants up front, and I'm really excited for today's session. So for everyone joining us, doesn't matter if on LinkedIn or on YouTube, feel free to ask your questions through the chat. And the reason why is we do not want just to have a kind of presentation. We want to have a kind of active conversation with you. And anytime you have a question or something that you want to ask us or place a comment, just use the chat, and I will try to moderate these your points within our discussion that we will have. Enough from my side, so let's meet our panelists. For today, we have Svenja Schröder from MSG Cloud, Conny Serafin from MSG Systems, and Nedo Alexander Bartels from Fraunhofer IESE. So I think it's the best that you shortly introduce yourself. Let's start with Svenja. Svenja, hand over to you.
Thank you, Stan. Hi, everybody. On the internet, it said we can't see you, but never mind. Let's hope we hear from you in the chat. My name is Svenja. I'm head of requirements engineering at MSG Cloud Austria here in Vienna. MSG Cloud is an IT consulting firm based in Vienna. We offer a range of services in the field of digitalization and digital solutions, and I'm also very happy to be here.
Great, thanks, Svenja. Conny. Short intro from your side.
Hi, nice to be here with you. Yes, my name is Connie and I work for MSG Systems. So MSG Group is an international group of companies. So we are active in IT consulting and software development, and we are focusing on business critical applications in the B2B context usually. I'm working at MSG Research, so we're here to analyze some trends, some new methodologies. And so when Svenja came up with this really nice topic, she's introducing you in a moment. So she was very enthusiastic, and like I'm with her on the way to really spread this important topic, like it is for me, like to spread it in the MSG group and also beyond, like here today.
Great, terrific. Thank you, Conny. Handing over to Nedo.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Nedo Bartels and I'm a researcher and expert engineer for digital ecosystem engineering at Fraunhofer IESE, a German research institute located in Kaiserslautern, and we are focusing on system and innovation design for software systems. And my work is centered on applied research in software and systems engineering, with a particular focus on the design of complex data-driven systems and their business models.
Great, thank you. So what will we do today? We decided to have short impulse discussions or impulse presentations first. First one is from Nedo about business models, digital ecosystems. Second one is from Svenja and Conny on the, let's say, different perspectives of ethics and engineering. Just to set the scene, and based on these short impulse presentations, we will then go to the panel discussion with all the three on stage and just discussing all these topics. And here is also the again the point for you. use the chat, give us your thoughts, and also give us your questions. So handing over to Nedo for the first impulse for today.
Thanks. Good, great. So in the next 10 minutes, I would like to outline the role of value-based engineering and explain how software systems have evolved into what we call digital ecosystems. So to structure this technological development, I will briefly distinguish between three terms, which is digitization, digitalization, and digital transformation. Even though everyone tends to have a slightly different interpretation of them, I would like to wrap up our understanding. And yeah, let's look at different domain and start with the music industry on the top row. So in the beginning, there were vinyl records. So starting in the 90s, 50s, when the record business really took off. And this was a quite analog and physical process. So in those days, if you wanted to have or to hear music, you had to go to a record store, maybe try out some music songs and bought a record and finally brought it home to hear the music. And this process stayed more or less the same for a very long time, basically for about 30 years, until the CD was introduced in 1982. With the CD, the medium itself became digital. This is what we call digitization. In this step, technology changed the product itself. So the music was now stored digitally on the CD. The CD, of course, was still a physical medium. But now more storage was available, and sometimes the music sounded even better. And it might have been positive for the industry. There was this new medium, the CD, and people who already had vinyl records sometimes bought the same album again on CD. And this worked pretty well, and it worked well for about 20 years. And then the next step happened. Once we already had music in digital form, the next step was to digitalize the process. They no longer had to go to a record store. Instead, users went online and bought their music in a virtual record store. And for users, this was a pretty great thing. But the impact for the music industry was quite huge because physical mediums slowly disappeared. There were fewer physical stores and only a small number of online music stores. And few years later, the next thing came, the digital transformation. Now, platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, or Deezer, or whatever you want to call them, turned the market upside down. So the industry did not like this very much, and you often hear terms like disruptive innovation. So in the first step, we had the digitization, then the digitalization to digitalize the process, and now we have digital transformation that changes the business models. Now, a completely new setup was now born, and it changed not even the industry, also the society. So users right now no longer buy music at all. They do not own it, neither physically or digitally. Instead, you just have to pay a monthly fee and get access to basically all music. And top of that, you do not just pick exactly the music you want to hear. Your listening behavior is analyzed with others and recommend new songs that you will mostly like. So I think this is exactly what digital transformation is about, the digital business model that are now data-driven in one or another way. So it does not have always been big data, but it's always somehow data-driven in some form. Okay, so yeah, digital transformation is not just happening in one industry, it's affecting basically all sectors. And in every industry, new players are emerging, and I'm pretty sure that most of you know the logos here and are quite familiar with you. Now, the situation is that companies feel forced to come up with new business idea and smarter and more digital services just to stay competitive. Now, what we did is to analyze all these different platform and ecosystems. And if you look at them, they follow some basic logics. So first of all, we see a digital ecosystem as a social technical system. That means it's not just technology, but a combination of organization, people, and digital systems. This ecosystem consists of many independent participants. They are not a single company, but many different actors. And they are orchestrated in a value network rather than in a value chain or a pipeline business. So this is a different story. And all of them collaborate in order to create somehow mutual fun. And really important at this point is that everyone should get something out of it, to participate within this ecosystem. Now, this collaboration is usually based on a kind of an ecosystem service that is offered by an initiator and provided through a digital platform. And interestingly, the system are based on positive network effects between the different market sites. So if one market site is increasing, it's getting more attractive to the other market site to participate within the ecosystem. For example, Airbnb. If you have more hosts, then your offer are bigger, or your accommodation that can be offered on the platform are bigger. This is more attractive to travelers, the demand side. Other way around, if you have more travelers on your platform, it's more attractive for hosts to offer the accommodation because the demand is higher. And because of that, the value creation between all sides is not an optional thing. It is quite strategically, and it has to be designed into this system from the beginning. And I believe this is exactly where value-based engineering comes in, because value-based engineering provides now a central approach to design the system in a holistic way and to make the value for the different stakeholders explicit. Now, at our institute, we created a method called digital ecosystem design, and this helps us to develop these kind of ecosystems. And you see here, like, let's say, just an overview about the method. So I would say it's closely connected to the idea of value-based engineering, especially in the step if you model the context and vision concept of your system. So the basic idea is simple. Instead of looking only on the technology side, we focus on the value that the system creates for different stakeholders and use this as a guiding principle in designing the overall system. So therefore, we have a method with different canvases, and as you see, we use Playmobil as a tangible object. So our experience shows that if you have a off-site workshop setting, it is quite interesting and it helps quite a lot to model and be more explicit about a common understanding about the system. Therefore, we combine like user journeys, something that is done by the service blueprint. Then we have something that is called service map, which is a high-level picture. And especially the motivation matrix at the end shows what kind of value is provided by whom to whom. And this is something that works pretty well. Another interesting approach can be E3 value, and we extended our approach in close exchange with the chair at the VU Amsterdam of Professor Jaap Rodijn, the inventor of E3 value. And this approach helps you to model not only the vision of the ecosystem, but also the business model behind the ecosystem. And I believe the information systems community offers a wide range of different approaches. And I show these approaches just because I believe the combination of different approaches is a very solid foundation for value-based engineering of complex systems. And this really matters for our community and for requirements engineers, because these kind of systems cannot be designed from a purely technical perspective anymore. We need to understand value and stakeholders and their relationships right from the beginning and use this understanding for a guiding principle in requirements engineering. Good. Lastly, I want to stress once more why value modeling and sustainability should be not underestimated. Very often we see this ecosystem from just the success stories behind it, like platforms Uber or Airbnb, how fast they scale and how fast the user base is growing. But the bigger and more powerful the system becomes, the bigger the impact on society and on the environment becomes as well. Like many large cities, Barcelona faces structural pressures on its housing market. And I think it's an interesting example. Meanwhile, platforms such as Airbnb are not the root of these problems. They are clearly add to the strengths. Against this background, the city has decided to ban Airbnb by 2028. And this raises a fundamental question: tourism versus locals, value for whom? And this is not an isolated case. We see similar development in other cities, for example, in Madrid, Berlin, Edinburgh. At this point, it should be clear that many different stakeholders can be affected by digital systems, often in a very different way. And this needs to be reflected in the engineering process. So balancing business models with ecological and social sustainability is a major challenge for us as requirements engineers. And in my view, value-based engineering provides a very good starting point to support requirements engineers and initiators in dealing with exactly these kind of challenges.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Neto, for your impulse on this topic, especially also on value engineering and the topics around. Before we start the discussion, I already have some questions in mind, but I will keep them for me for the moment. And I would like to hand over to Connie and Svenja, just giving their impulse before we start the discussion.
Yeah, thank you. I will also share my screen. I hope you can see it.
Yes.
Okay, great. Then I will start. So thank you for the opportunity to give this impulse talk. I'm very excited to talk about digital humanism in practice, or a method called also value-based engineering on a standard IEEE 7000. Because we only have 10 minutes, Connie and I decided that I will do the impulse talk, but Connie has to say more later on. So Connie, prepare yourself. You will also get your talking time. Okay, so digital humanism is a very trendy topic and a very important topic these times, because we as an IT consultancy do a lot of digitalization or digital transformation work for our customers. And we always ask ourselves, what's our lighthouse? Because as we all know, there are certain, very, very many different ways to digitalize or do digital transformation. And we want to do digitalization with European ethical values in mind. Of course, there are lots of theories around digital humanism, like, for example, here by Professor Nida Rümelin, digital humanism revives the ideals of humanism for the digital world and places the human being at center. That's one way to put it. Basically, here in digital humanism, you want to design systems so that it makes the lives of those who use it better. So that you don't only strive for a good business model, but you also strive for some added value for your stakeholders. That's basically at the heart of this idea of digital humanism. And I mean, you're all requirements engineers, at least I assume so, or digital designers. You get the point, what's at the heart of a requirements engineering process or a digital design process, right? The users or the stakeholders and a functioning business model, a valuable product. So that was my idea to get deeper into this topic. For me, digital humanism is a very high level concept, like sustainability or like those very high concepts. And I'm an engineer by heart. I'm a computer scientist, and I always ask myself, how can I bring this topic down to a method that I can use in my projects? And this is also why I was very, very excited to hear about this standard. In short, it's IEEE 7000. You can Google it. It has this longer name right now because, of course, it also went to ISO and IEC. They also gave out some numbers, and Professor Sarah Spiekermann by the WU Vienna, it's a university, developed a training on the standard, which she called value-based engineering. She published a book about this standard. You can read it. It's very insightful. And at the heart of this standard are the questions: how can IT systems be developed ethically, innovatively, and sustainably? And how can innovation potentials be harnessed while addressing risks early on? And as you can see, it's always a bit difficult to talk about value with this regards, because here, if I talk about values, I mean ethical values mostly. So value is like a bit of a chameleon as a word. There are certain types of values, and most of the times when you talk about value in the product sense, you mean monetary value or business value. When I'm talking about values, I mean ethical values. And I was very excited to learn about this standard, and I will show you why, and how. It's a method that starts before the first line of code. So if you want to develop a product, for example, I had the EU AI Act on the slide before. If, for example, you want to develop an AI product and you're not quite sure which impact this product will have, you can use this method to have a look at ethical concerns and also think about which ethical values do I want to have to implement it in this product, and then you can really do some workshops with stakeholders to derive ethical values, develop a value strategy, and take that with you as system requirements into your product. So I want to see if the laser pointer works. Great. So very, very quick. Of course, I could hold a whole lecture about this topic, but I will be very brief. And we have the preparation phase. It's phase number 1. Here. We start with the system analysis of the system and the system surrounding the system, with a stakeholder map and the context of the product as you want to build it. You realize here in the audience that's requirements engineering or business analysis. So if you're a good requirements engineer, product owner, business analyst, you will have that anyways. So the starting point of this method, you will have it because you don't want to start building a system without a plan. And with these requirements, you can go into phase 2. It's the ethical value workshops with the stakeholders. So you basically do 3 stakeholder workshops. You search for representative stakeholders for your stakeholder groups, also maybe skeptical stakeholders. You do those value workshops with 3 different ethical views. It's utilitarianism, virtue ethics, and deontological ethics. It would be way too much to explain those to you. Please Google yourselves. It's philosophy. You don't need to know anything about philosophy if you participate as stakeholder with these workshops. The questions in these workshops and the tasks are designed so that everybody can participate, and somebody who's a value lead, that's a role, the person who has studied this method and the standard will guide you through it and work out the value strategy. It will analyze these ethical value implications from the stakeholders, do an analysis, identify innovation and risks, and develop a value strategy. Those the value strategy and the values you want to represent in the system are then taken over into ethical system design phase, where ethical requirements, value requirements are being written. The system design is maybe changed. So if you see, oh my God, if we do this product as we wanted to build it, they are really, bad things are going to happen if we do it like this. You have to redesign your system and maybe also rebuild the business model. And of course, you do some risk management. Very, very quick overview. So I was very excited when I learned about this method. It's a standardized way and a very good way to have ethical values incorporated into your system design, which is also internationally defined. Of course, we also had some workshops also with customers. Here, we did like a sample workshop with the city of Vienna at the Digital Days in Vienna on October 14th. Of course, we did not work on a real product. We had like a theoretical product which we got from the city of Vienna. Here you can see myself presenting with Günther Siebenhaar. He's an innovation manager at the city of Vienna, and we wanted to bring this workshop format into the city of Vienna and the participants. And the participants really liked it. It was the abstract subject became somewhat clearer to me. Here they meant the digital humanism abstract, the digital humanism subject. It's always like a very cloudy term, but what will you really do in the end? And breaking down a complex topic into an experienceable form, so they really felt seen and if it would have been a real product, we would really have raised the potential acceptance of the product later on. So wrapping that up, why do we use value-based engineering? These are, of course, the USPs of the method itself. If you use this method, it will lead to more innovative and future-proof business models. You have a built-in risk management. Risk management in projects is sometimes like you do a big checklist and then you put it under the desk into your drawer and it never leaves the drawer again. Here you really have to do it. It's meaningful for companies and employees. Of course, if you take care of ethical values and the ethics of your products, this is meaningful. It's also protection for the management. Sometimes you can avoid shitstorms with a product. If you realize in those stakeholder workshops, there's really a no-go feature, you can redesign the business model or the product and avoid a shitstorm. Of course, it also helps with compliance for EU law, especially regarding the AI Act. If you do a product with AI, which is at risk or high risk level, this really helps you to address ethical concerns. And of course, it also increases the attractiveness of companies and brands, because you can say we not only talk about digital humanism, we also implement it in our products. So thank you very much for the possibility to do a little impulse talk on this topic. And now I'm really looking forward to the discussion.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Svenja. Great. Big thank you from my side. Was some great impulse presentations from you. I need to switch on Connie every now and then. She said she's back in the session. Probably some technical issues, but I will keep on pressing the button that she will join us again. What I liked in both presentations, giving the, let's say, different aspects also of value engineering when we talk about values, so the business aspect, but also this kind of ethical aspects. For me, it's a bit, we talked about this maybe probably a year ago at the Requirements Engineering Conference. For me, it's a bit in the direction of sustainability. Most people, when talking about sustainability, they are looking on the carbon footprint more, but there are even more dimensions on sustainability. And that's why I thought, hey, this is also a nice thing to talk about value of a digital product in our session today. When I think of Nedo from your presentations, and you talked about also this network values and so on. So what's your impression? So how does value of a product evolve in these digital ecosystems nowadays? Maybe also an example of Airbnb, or also from the what you have done with whatever Spotify or any streaming services that you're having.
Yeah, interesting question. Actually, I would say in digital ecosystems, a product's value is not fixed. It grows or declines with the ecosystem around it. So, for example, a smartphone alone has limited value, but its value increases because of the app ecosystem around it. And the more user interactions or apps it enables, the more value it creates. And I think this is a really important behavior of these kind of systems, that the interaction is something that always has to increase.
Okay, great. I mean, it's the same in digital systems, but also in, let's say, other communities, like whatever could be IREB, could be any other thing. The more people who are interested in and that are somehow connected and use this topic or use this application in this sense, the more you have this kind of buy-in, I think, as well. So what do you think when designing digital systems, where to focus on nowadays to create this kind of more long-term value for the business and also for the product?
Mm-hmm. I believe we should avoid dependencies and keep our options open as much as possible, especially from a European perspective. I think we have to strengthen and perhaps even developing our own digital platform and services. And I believe that initiatives like Gaia X are the step in the right direction, even though there are still some issues. But I think it's still a really good initiative. And systems should be open and interoperable. And especially given the current geopolitical situation, I think this is not an easy task, but it's the right direction. And I think we need to pursue to avoid lock-in or even worse, lock-out effects, and to keep control about or over our digital infrastructure.
Yeah, I mean, this as you mentioned, lockout effects is also something that's quite important, especially when it comes to the social or more ethical things. Maybe Svenja, Conny, do you have some questions to Nedo with respect to his presentation?
I just think like it's not really a question, but the sovereignty aspect is really an important one. You cannot avoid at all like all the dependencies, but you should be aware of it and really like manage it. What is okay? What?
Oops. Need to switch.
You still hear me?
Yes, you're back.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I don't know what's about my technique today. Yeah, and the partnerships and the trust is also a point, like with the ecosystems, like when you want to build together products that really improve life, like for the individuals, for the people who are in the ecosystems, you might not be the only one who could do it, but you need these partnerships and you need.
Back again.
Maybe I will also. I have a question because maybe Conny can wind up her wireless LAN again. I know Conny came especially to the company to not have those problems, and now the company is failing us. just a bon mot. Yeah. So what I always wonder about, and that's really like a personal annoyance for me, is that a lot of the times those business models focus on advertising. And that's a question to Nedo, because what would you say about when we think about those business models, how much of those business models are actually focusing on advertising and money generated by advertising? Because we have, like, of course, Spotify, we have booking.com, we have all those services, but there's always this advertising aspect. Like, okay, for example, I did an HBO subscription last week. And then I had the choice between I could pay €6 here in Austria for the version with advertising. They like cut the episodes in half and do like this very, very lengthy advertising. Or I could do the subscription for like €12 and don't have advertising. Actually, I thought I'm going to be a cheapskate and do the €6 thing. But it was so annoying, I just stopped it. I'm really paying €12 now. And that's €6 a month I'm paying for not having advertising. Maybe you can elaborate a bit on that, or tell me your thoughts. That would be very interesting.
Yeah, sure. So I think it's an interesting question as well. And I believe the question is always a little bit, or the answer is it depends to a certain point. It depends on the business model, and it depends even more about the assets. So what we are figured out in applying our tangible ecosystem design method in different project industry or public projects, it's always the case about the value exchange to think about what kind of asset is exchanged between the parties. So Airbnb example is the accommodation to a certain point, or Uber it's the ride. But if we think about advertising, I think my feeling is it's quite often that we have data exchanges between different market sites, or can be even multi-sided markets. So more than two market sites, maybe 3 or 4. But if you're just focusing on two market sites, I think data flows are something that is a basis that advertising-based business models are are increasing, and this is something that is can be really helpful revenue model if you are able to get attention, or if you are able to produce attention to a certain amount. And yeah, as you say, if you have then a platform that relies on attention or attraction between the market side, then advertising can be interesting for third parties to pay for this kind of attention, and then you can create a revenue model out of it. But yeah, I believe, this is my feeling, that privacy preferences getting more and more important, and we are right now running at the Institute different projects and initiatives regarding cookie and preferences management. And I believe this is something that getting more important, especially in Europe or even in Germany. We have this strong data protection, and I think this is the right step, because our data are something really important and should be handled like gold to a certain point.
Yeah, great. And I think this was a great question anyway. So especially when looking to this point of, for sure, what's doable in digital products, mostly everything today. And this is the point where requirements engineering, digital design, whatever, comes into the game, in my perception, asking these nasty questions. Is this required? What is the goal? Do we really want to annoy our customers? Or is this a business model that's really needed? I mean, this is also a kind of decision, but I think what's most important, that these decisions need to be done explicitly, so that they not only happen because of whatever you are not aware of these side effects. I think it's super important when you're going in this direction that you take these decisions as explicit as possible. Great. This brings me to the question also for you, Connie and Svenja. So when we are looking in the area of requirements engineers or digital designers, and you also have this introduction of this IEEE 10000 idea, but how to bring this kind of ethical thinking into practice.
Mm-hmm. So I think one very important step is one of the standards I presented. So I think, for us as engineers, I think talking about ethics is important, but we need to do it in a standardized way, because not everybody of us, or like few of us, have really a philosophical education. So I did like 2 or 3 courses on philosophy, also for this value lead training, but I mean, I also still need somebody to ask. And for this, like standards like the IEEE 7000 can really help to like formalize it in a way that you have like these rail guards where you know, okay, if I'm in this track, I can do it. I know where to ask questions. I know where to do things right, how to do things right. And that's also very good if you want to tackle regulation. We had like the GDPR before, we had like EU AI Act. That's all like regulation that's coming from the EU, which I also think is very important also to innovate. So this is something that can really help. And another thing is personal interest. If you like design digital products today, you have to be interested in these questions. You have to think about sustainability, about innovation at risk. You have to think about ethical regards. For example, sometimes regulation can lead to innovation. You all know how the EU told us that every product, like smartphones and stuff, they have to have a USB-C adapter. And what did Apple do? Apple invented like this charger with the plug-in hole USB-C, and on the other hand, it's also USB-C, and that's so practical, because how many times did this effing Apple charger fail us? Because the cable broke just over the charger. And that's like one thing where like Apple really innovated based on EU regulations. And I really appreciate that. And I think we have to see it as a chance to make the world better, and maybe it looks like it's a lot of effort, but I think only in the short run we're going to have a lot of benefits in the future.
True. Great, thanks. You mentioned also the aspects of how much do we have to do. This is really a question that's rising in my head. So what is the, let's say, range requirements the engineer in this area can decide, or at least can create awareness on these topics? I mean, I have an idea and I have a meaning on this. Are there any guidelines within your company, or are there any guidelines within this standard you know about?
So, okay, coming from a company who mostly does, or very, very often does product or projects or software development projects, it always, of course, depends on the setup of the project. But on the other hand, I think us as designers of digital systems have a lot of impact. A lot depends on us, and of course we don't design them ourselves, but we can raise our voice and point out things we find important. So, for example, we can always make suggestions. You know, half of a requirements work is making good suggestions, so that somebody else can choose something based on the suggestions we made. That's a position of power where we give other people maybe agency. For example, the customers, but we influence this agency. And so making good suggestions, pointing something out, where are the quick wins, where could we really innovate, point out risks we should have a look at. So we have a big impact on the products we're designing. And I think this is why I encourage everybody to think about those topics.
Yeah, great. Do you have any examples for whatever tools, tool sets, frameworks besides these IEEE standard that you use? For instance, in workshops and that you have mentioned in these, let's say, 4 steps for creating value engineering?
When it goes regarding methods, I want to try to give Connie the word. I don't know if it will work. Otherwise, I can jump in.
Let's see.
Let's see if it works.
Okay, can you?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
We can.
Yes.
But you can't hear us.
Yes, I think so.
Just talk.
Okay, it's a bit of a comedy value, right? So because Connie is our methodology, Connie's responsible for driving the requirements engineering methodology forward in the company. This is why I wanted to ask Connie. Connie, did you hear the question?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. I hope it's stable now. What Svenja and I did the last year, we also had a look on the workshops, like what should be the output of the workshop regarding the training.
No, probably not super stable.
I'm really sorry about it. We had a look and integrated some design thinking in the workshop design. The standard, like the doing before, was like you have
Maybe I can take up on what you were talking about. So we have of course we have like this structured requirements engineering process in our company. It differs from customer to customer, but we have like a standard, and we always try to like incorporate new methodologies into this standard. For example, like Connie said, we had a project last year, an internal innovation project, where we had a look with a colleague how we can like take this IEEE standard and design thinking methodology we do anyhow for our customers, depending where we start with the project, and integrate this into a fitting workshop concept. So we have different approaches. Of course, we always pick the things that are fitting for the customer, but yeah, I mean, if you have a look at it in the end, a lot of methodology aspects overlap, and this is one part where we have overlap. Maybe also interesting if we're talking about standards and regulation. I myself did a training with a colleague of Connie about ISO 42001, like 42001. That's a standard about HI management systems. How can you bring HI management systems into the company? That's not strictly speaking requirements engineering work, but with this we can do AI strategy on the company level in a standardized way, AI ethical aspects with IEEE 7000 and value-based engineering on a product level. And we always think about how can we, for example, address the requirements the EU AI Act is posing to us. How can we address this with standards that are already there? And then we integrate everything into a concept. But of course, that's not only requirements engineering work, because it cannot be. You also need compliance officers, you need the strategists and stuff. So we try to have an integrated method. So it's a very big answer, but it's also a very big question.
That's true.
I hope that's okay.
Nido, anything to add from your side?
Yeah, actually, yes. Right now we are participating in a European research project called EuroDice, and therefore we are working with different organizations and universities on methods. And what I would like to point out is one helpful approach, in my view, is the Sustainability Awareness Framework, or SUSAF, proposed by the Karlskrona Group. And SUSAF is basically a framework that helps to systematically think about sustainability in software-intense systems. And the main idea is to make sustainability impacts explicit and visible and discussable, instead of treating them as an afterthought. And I think this is a really interesting and good framework to get a big picture about it. And what we tested is to combine our method TED with SUSAF together, and we had good results in reflecting the developed system regarding the sustainability goals. And
that's great. It's great that you mentioned SUSAF, and we also have this in our sustainability special interest group. And I think what I like with SUSAF is this is quite handy for just implementing, for just using it. And you have the sustainability in, let's say, different dimensions, as I mentioned in the very beginning. SUSAF, correct me if I'm wrong, has 5 dimensions that are considered and in different aspects. So this is really a nice framework for considering more, let's say, being as holistic as possible when I'm talking about sustainability. And I think this is also, as we mentioned, partially covering the topics we are discussing today, even if not 100%, but I think a lot could be found there as well. That's great. One thing, Svenja, you just mentioned in your answer before the EU AI Act, and I think especially when we talk about ethics and value and all those topics, when looking into the, let's say, system development today, especially for all the systems that have integrated some AI components. So what do you think? I mean, how to deal with this kind of uncertainty, responsibility that we have, and also for, on the one hand side, there's much of positive things that could be done with AI, but on the other hand side, there's for sure also a lot of things we see in the news with Grok these days, what can be done as well. So do you have any thoughts on this topic?
So of course, on one hand, there's using AI in your private life, and there's also using AI in business life.
Yeah.
And maybe, what should I say? I mean, using AI in private life, that's one thing. but maybe I talk a bit about the business side because
Sure.
that's more easily handleable.
Yeah.
So for example, we first have a look. So everybody wants to do AI right now. So all the customers and all the IT consultancies, everybody needs to do AI, and we have to do AI. But what's really underlying with those AI products? You need to know your business workflows. You need to know the business the workflows. You need to have your data ready. It needs to have a good form, and then you have to look at, okay, what kind of product do I want to build? Do I really need AI, or do I need automation, or do I need some good rule model behind it? I've seen solutions where I thought that's AI, but that's really just 10 rules and a good scripting. I was like, okay, great. That's the cheapest AI solution I ever saw. And so what I think, when you want to integrate AI models into your products, you have to have a good quality assurance. So today we heard a talk about AI testing. How can you test AI models? A lot of the work which needs to be done for this quality assurance is requirements engineering, because you really need to define what should the model do, where are its boundaries, which is the data that comes into it. So we really need requirements engineering for this. And the other thing is, like what we said before, sovereignty. So you really have to check, where's your model running? Does it apply to the GDPR? Does it train the model with your data? That, of course, that's a no-go for customers. And best thing would be, of course, if you have to run it on premise, but that's most of the times not achievable, because in the end you really have to have a look at the costs. How much is it costing me? And that's where the business value comes into, like what Nedo also talked about. You need to do a calculation. How much does it cost, and is it really worth the effort? Because if you pay like 10,000 euro a month for a model that's running on premise in your data center, and then all it does each day is, like, I don't know, give you the weather forecast in a nice way, that's not sustainable in the end.
That's true. Yeah.
Maybe I would like to just to add what Svenja said. Boundary and uncertainty is a good keyword. So I think we should accept that AI systems are never fully certain or perfect. And the key is to design them in a risk-aware way. So just to be clear about their limits, monitor their behavior, and keep human in control for critical decisions. And approaches like retrieval augmented generation, RAG approaches, help, I believe, to reduce uncertainty by grounding AI outputs in reliable sources. And responsibility still means not only optimizing performance, but also think about the harm behind it and planning how to detect and handle it early.
Yeah. I think, as you mentioned, I think when introducing AI in whatever product, I think here it's most important having this awareness how to deal with whatever customer client data using this product that you're offering. And on the other hand side, for sure, also some kind of what are the boundaries, and so is this a kind of whatever product that's should be used for answering or giving some questions for your society services that you're offering as a country, and here I think it's quite important to also limit these boundaries. Could be by REG, could be by whatever, and especially here we always, for sure, now we're coming a bit to this topic of sustainability, ask ourselves the questions where AI is really needed, which model is really needed, also when looking in the area in this topic of whatever consuming of power of data centers and so on.
And also the explicable AI, like, do I understand what it is doing? So this is important. You still have the responsibility, and that's also with the AI Act. You have also to prove that you use that responsibility, and you document it. And so it's a lot.
But mostly finished. But mostly finished your sentence.
Yeah, like this risk awareness and the risk management, here it comes around with the value-based engineering, so this, which we can use for this risk management, like really integrating at the beginning. Creating critical first as a stakeholder, so you really think broadly about this risk aspect.
Great. Thanks, Connie. I think most of the viewpoints could be understood. I just try to switch you on as soon as possible, anytime. Looking to the time, so we are having 5 minutes left. I would like to ask you, so when looking into your experience, especially of value-based engineering, doesn't matter if this is more on the business perspective or also on the ethical perspective or whatever. So what is your advice for our participants? What should they look on? What's the, let's say, what's the most easiest way for them to come to doing, to do something?
Maybe I can start. Yes, I can start. So I always tell everybody that they have to become fans of the boring stuff. So you need to be a fan of risk management and you need to be a fan of compliance in this increasingly complex environment that we are in today. Because, for example, AI, that's a topic that we all needed like 2 or 3 years to completely understand what's happening after the disruption. And now we tackle it with compliance and risk management and stuff. So we really need to be fans of those boring topics and incorporate it into our daily life. It takes some time to get into it, but it's worth it because today's world is becoming, like there are those terms like complex and unsecure and stuff. So it's becoming more complex. So you need to put some time and effort into be able to address those complex topics in a standardized approach. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. Connie, short sentence from you, as long as you're online.
Yes, I think it's just important to have a look on the human social aspects, ethics at the beginning, like really think broadly when you're designing products. Life gets more and more digital. We have the responsibility for it. And also value should not be only monetary. So this is an important aspect.
Absolutely. Thank you. Nedo.
Yes, I have a general feeling about it. So my advice would be to always think beyond the purely technical solution, because I know we all love to be technical and have really detailed specification, which is good. But I think it's important that ask yourself what value you are really creating for whom. And if you are unsure about a decision, make your assumptions and explicit and discuss it. Or validated them early as possible with others.
Yeah, thanks. Great. So unfortunately, time is more or less over, but I really like to thank you, Svenja, Connie, and Nedo for being guests in our today's roundtable. I really like the discussions, and I hope also you, as participants, like the discussion. And I think what's most important, just keep on doing, think about the points Svenja, Connie, and Nedo mentioned. I think we need to start as early as possible with this kind of critical thinking, asking also these nasty questions, and also coming to or considering risk management, all these topics. And with doing this, I think we have a great impact as requirements engineers, business analysts, digital designers, to create great products that also have this value mindset. And value not only means this business value, for sure this is possible because companies want to earn money, but also value for the society. And I think this is on the same level of importance. So thank you very much from my side. I hope you enjoyed the session, and stay tuned and have a look on LinkedIn for our other roundtables already scheduled. And thank you and bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Right.